as Shooty very kindly said, I worked in the investment world for 21 years, did reasonably well. As you can see, I was in the Irish Times and the Irish Independent for growing businesses from 50 million to 1.75 billion. I then, in 2008, when the markets went through the floor, ended up getting stressed because we lost 3.5 billion in assets out the door. That stress led to ailments, to doctors, to 2 operations that went wrong, and then I had a near-death experience where I actually died. And I was encapsulating this amazing feeling of love, energy, and connection. Obviously, I came back. Otherwise, I wouldn't be speaking to you today. And I've learned now how important energy is, that when you optimize your energy, you can optimize your performance. And if you think about it, money is an exchange for energy, time, knowledge, and experience. And time, knowledge, and experience are all around energy. And your emotions are energy in motion. If your emotions are all over the place, if you're overthinking, if you're fearful, if you're worried, if you're getting anxious or annoyed, that means your central nervous system is a bit twisted. And that can mean that you could make the wrong decision in what you do. So what I do now, I'll go on to the next stage, what I do now is I help people, because I'm a coach, consultant, corporate trainer, I help people when they have their goal at the end of the wall over there, I help people get rid of all the hurdles that might be in the way. Those procrastinations, those egos, those fears, false evidence appearing real. All of those things that are in the way, I help people get them out of the way so they can clear the path and get towards your goals. But a lot of you here are incredibly intelligent people, but sometimes you can be the most intelligent person on the planet, have the best product or service on the planet, and if you can't communicate and present that out effectively, you might be the biggest secret on the planet as well. So that's where I come in. I might be able to help you in that presentation and communication skills, because I help people craft presentations to be able to stand on stage, give that speech, and leave that legacy. By the way, sorry, what was your name? Adam makes a very good thing there, actually. Misunderstandings. That's probably the biggest reason why we have conflict in the world. Because all of you here have your goggles on. You're all a product of your parents, your preachers, your teachers, and past relationships and experiences. That means that you see the world in a different way than the other person. That's why men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And in terms of that, quite often you can be explaining to a colleague or explaining to a loved one something, and they just don't get it. Not have a clue what you're talking about. Obviously the nods there, right? We all get that. And normally it's just because you see things in completely different ways. The word relationship I break down into a ship. That means you need to put yourself and your partner, or yourself and your team, or yourself and your clients on board that ship, traveling in the right direction of what you're trying to achieve. But unfortunately what happens is, we also in that relationship word have a relay, which is conscious communication and active listening. And people forget that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and most people use them the other way around. So what we really need to do is make sure that we consciously communicate, relay our shuns, our expectations and our intentions. But what's the shun that most people use by mistake? Anybody? No, it's an assumption. When we assume, we make an ass out of you and me. So instead of making assumptions in relationships, the best thing to do is to ask questions. Exactly why I was talking to Adam's point in terms of the difference of opinions. Be aware that you have an idea of what you want in a relationship. The other person has their wants as well. And what happens is this person goes, I'm not getting what I want. I'm not getting what I want. He's horrible. She's horrible. But actually, you know what? If you talked, communicated consciously, and asked questions to understand, you might come to a joint collaborative goal.
How do you make high performance success without stress?
Making sure that the interactions in life, including your own self, lead to win-win. Everything I do is about energy, whether it's communication skills and teaching people to speak on stage, being paid to speak, or it's helping people in terms of mental wellness, where their thoughts have been playing against them. Find what you truly love doing, because if you love what you do, love the clients you serve, you're going to have lots of vibrant energy. And I truly believe that everything in life is energy. Thoughts are energy, speech is energy, thoughts lead to speech, speech leads to actions, actions leads to habits, and habits leads to destiny. So start with a positive thought, and you'll end with a positive destiny. And if anybody's interested, I've got my book outside. I'd be delighted to sign some copies. Thank you very much. If anybody wants a book, come and join me outside afterwards by the toilets. It was interesting. I was very interested in the fact that I was given the toilet spot in a food place, right next to the toilet. So when you feel like you're desperate to go, you're thinking of Doug. So there we go. Anyway, so I also had the radio show for 5 years, and it's now turned into a podcast. And during that time period, I've interviewed some amazing people. I've interviewed people like Niall Quinn, Stuart Lancaster, Jamie Heaslip, Brian Fenton, many other stars that you might have come across. And the reason why I interviewed them is, one, because you're the average of the people you hang around with, so I wanted to hang around with them, but also on top of that, you get to learn from other people's experiences. So in my book, and here I am today, I'm not just sharing my experiences and my knowledge, I'm sharing what I've learned from other people as well.
And actually, people talk about time management all the time. I think energy management is more important, because if you wake up with a zest and that energy every single day, you're going to get more done in less time with less stress. So as you can see, I have a few services there if anyone has a business. I do high performance sales training, leadership training, presentation skills training, performance optimization training, and workplace wellbeing.
If I put you on a stage at 90 years of age and it was your legacy speech, what would you speak about? What would you be most passionate about? What legacy would you like to leave? And when you know what that is, reverse engineer yourself back to where you are today and decide, who do I need to work with? What do I need to do? Who do I need to model? What do I need to learn to be able to stand on that stage, give that speech, and leave that legacy?
And I guarantee there's 99 different perspectives of what I'm saying. Because when you're presenting, you can see me in terms of the visual, you can hear me in terms of the audio, and I want to make you move so you feel an experience as well.
Sales is all about communication, connection, and collaboration. We agreed? And that's where you really need to ask the right questions to understand the pain points for the client. Because it's emotions of pain and pleasure that really sell. Knowledge is all about know your client, know your product, know your industry, match your client needs to your USPs. But also knowledge is about understanding the client in terms of awareness. You know, situational awareness, market awareness, client awareness. But also, as a salesperson, you need to have awareness in terms of divisional awareness within your organization. Because you might be trying to get something for a client as quickly as possible, but you need to put yourself in the other people's shoes, the ops team, the finance team, or whoever it is as well, to have empathy and compassion, to work in collaboration rather than competition with them as well. Now, once we've got that purpose, we've got that why, we need to set goals in terms of those targets. And that's why those targets are keeping you accountable. But it also gives you direction to put your tasks in place. Whether it's sending emails, whether it's meeting the clients, all the things that I was talking about earlier on, it's making sure that you're doing them on a consistent basis. But that's not always easy, right? Because we do have these things such as fear of failure, perfectionism, self-doubt, procrastination that get in the way. Anyone else have anything else that gets in their way? You want to shout out? Anybody? Stress, very good, yeah. Anybody else? Okay, well look, a lot of these, actually one time I was doing a mindset one, and a guy who must have been in his 80s put his hand up and he said, "It's beautiful women." And I was like, okay, gets in your way. It's true. How can we get rid of all of these so we can focus on what we want rather than what we don't want? Well, I have a purpose-driven awareness technique, as you can see that Pat Quigley has done. Pat actually did this. He didn't want to do it because he was like 61 when we were working together at the time. But when he actually did it, he ended up getting his best 360, his best bonus, his relationships internally improved and externally with his friends improved because he was able to look at himself in a different way. And his vibe changed, so his tribe changed, or the way they perceived him changed as well. I want you to 10x your target. And the reason for this is not, oh, here we go, motivation, blah, blah, blah. What I want you to do is imagine that I've now bought Cybercentric, and I'm now the new owner of it. And I've decided that we're going to 10x the sales over the next year. So I want you to think differently. I want you to think that your life depends on this, and you need to think, how can I actually change the way I think, change the way I do my sales, and change the way I collaborate with my clients to be able to take it up to that extra level. It is utilizing your voice box in different ways. This instrument is an instrument to be played. So we all have our different accents, and even if we're all Irish, I'm Irish originally, although I don't sound it, but we all have our own accents. And that's basically because we modeled our parents and our preachers and teachers and people that we hang around with, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't utilize this voice, because quite often I do a lot of presentation communication skills, and I work with C-level guys and they go, oh, I don't like doing that, Doug, it doesn't really sound like my authentic voice. It is your authentic voice, you're just using it and fluctuating that energy in a different way to create a kinesthetic energy in terms of the communication and presentation to connect with the hearts of the audience in some way or form. Agreed? Did you feel that energy just then? Yeah? Nods. Great. Body movement. Now, body movement, ladies, if you're presenting on stage, this stage is a bit wobbly, and especially if you're walking over here, you don't want to trip over this bit here. So be careful of the shoes that you're wearing to make sure they're comfy. Because I have seen people also sway from, especially ladies, they tend to sway from side to side because in the heels sometimes it gets a bit painful if you're on for an hour. So think consciously about what you're doing and your body movements and your body positions as well. The other thing as well in terms of body movements, gentlemen, quite often if you're a leader and you like to kind of look professional with your hands in your pockets, don't do that. Especially I've seen this, embarrassingly, some guys when they're getting excited they start doing this. And nobody wants to see what's going on down there at all. You know, I've seen that. I've done presentation skills training with 12 people kind of sitting around and I'm there watching them and there's a guy like this all the time going like this, you know, getting all excited about, you know, his presentation and how great he is. And he forgets where his hands are. Use your hands. It's difficult sometimes with a microphone, but use your hands as much as possible to express. Any questions? No? Cool. Now, the reason why and I haven't finished by the way, I've got one last slide, but the reason why I always suggest you ask questions before you summarize is because what happens is you could get something that goes completely left field and then next minute they've forgotten the whole presentation. So always do your questions before you summarize and then that way you bring it back to everything you've talked about at the end. A is authenticity, accountability and action. Authenticity, which was obviously mentioned in terms of trust, is very important. Trust creates business. Be your authentic self. You can be enthusiastic, you can be energetic, but be your authentic self.